So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about the things that we've experienced through the day, what my kind of main learning points were, which hopefully might be something different to what people have. I've provided a kind of a decent ending to the whole proceedings. But there's been a lot, so it's probably going to be a good 10 minutes of wrap up anyway. Well, we started off at 8 o'clock this morning, 8 o'clock UK time. That was me. I was talking about why collaborative selling. What is collaborative selling? What is this whole session about? What's this way of thinking? So I introduced what I believe it is. It's the latest evolution of sales, having gone through various iterations. To be modern in selling, we need to be more collaborative. We need to co-create. We need to be working with customers to add value. One of the ways we can do that is by getting the right kind of mindset, the right kind of ethos, which PQ, which partnering skills helps us develop. We can then take this and put it together with some of the good things that have gone on in the past. There's some stuff we need to throw away very, very quickly, but some good things gone in the past. We bring those together to give us a really modern approach. So I talked through that and why I believe that this is the way to get over some of the challenges that modern salespeople find. The challenges of busy, 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 oldie-worldy, and muddled mindset. We looked at those. Basically, to overcome those, we need to be more effective. We need to get up to date, and we need to be far more aligned. So I covered that in the first session. I was then able to introduce Janice B. Gordon. Janice came on and she spoke to us about becoming a trusted advisor. She gave us 5 steps to become a trusted advisor. However, she gave us about 500 learning points. Each of those steps had so many elements that she was able to elaborate on and share with us, and align with actually the things I was saying about trying to just take some small things and add them up and aggregate the marginal gains. She gave us some real value in how we can start to get that position, which ultimately a customer bestows on us. And we can't say, I'm your trusted advisor. You've got to earn that status. And she gave us a formula to do that. Next up was Alex Lowe. Alex, as he does, jumped off plan a little bit and treated us to some brand new stuff. He's in a new role. He's done a bit of new research. And so what he's done is he's put together something that's got us thinking about the future of sales. Various elements involved in that, how we need to use data, how we need to get up to date, how we need to get more modern, and really embrace the fact data is really key. And he talked about some of the trends and some of the directions that it's taking. Potentially, there's a danger people think, yeah, well, that's in the modern industries. That's in the sectors where they're up to speed anyway. That's SaaS and that's those kind of areas. Potentially, it could be yours, whatever you're selling. Because if it's not already happening, somebody's going to do that and they're going to steal a competitive advantage. So if people are, you've got to catch up. If they aren't, you have an opportunity. So there's a lot of ideas, a lot of thinking. And along with every other speakers, he's given some resources and some links and some areas which we can go and look and we can go to understand. He actually talked about talking to buyers, and it was a perfect segue. I couldn't have asked for anything better. I'd love to pretend that we planned this, but it was really just fortuitous. The next person up was Mark Schenkius, who is indeed a buyer. I asked him if he's still a buyer, even though he's now a consultant, and apparently buying goes in the blood. Allegedly, buyers are people. That became a bit of a surprise to me. That was one of the action points that I wrote down, was to investigate that. But what he then talked about is it says, yeah, they are people with emotions. They're human. They're normal. They buy things for themselves. But when they're in professional mode, they have a capacity to play a blue game. And he used the analogies of the red and blue chairs, where blue chairs are cold. They're factual. They're not interested in trying to build relationship. And the red chair, which a lot of salespeople will try to do, is this warm relationship building. We want to partner. We want to be really close to you. In some cases, the buyer just doesn't want it, doesn't need it, doesn't make sense to them. They analyze this stuff using the cry-check matrix, which he introduced us to, and how a buyer will be thinking based on the importance of the risk of the purchase to them. We can understand that, put ourselves in their shoes, and then predict what their behaviors are going to be. They give us a real insight into the mind of how our customers will be thinking. Next up was Suchi. She talked about stereotypes in sales, and really how things aren't always the way they seem. She busted myth straight away that good salespeople are gregarious, talkative, outgoing. The data is showing that that's not the case. She talked about how we can use data and how we can focus in on the behaviors to really pick the right people for the roles, to get away from some of the biases that we might have, and to make sure we're going to be successful because we get the job done with the right individuals. She spoke at depth as well about how career paths and how really embracing diversity can make a massive difference. After that, lunchtime, except it wasn't, because along came, oh, I missed a massive pun. We're going to rewind this. In flew Zane Sennett, who I got his rank wrong twice. We promoted him as flight lieutenant. I then called him a wing commander, but actually he's a squadron leader. He's an RAF serving officer. He talked to us about how in the military people plan, people prepare, and some of the elements of that, which hopefully anybody looking at that was able to make the jumps and the links to the sort of things that we can be doing in professional sales to be good. He talked about large force operations or exercises, lots and lots of different moving parts, lots of people involved, which sounds very much like a strategic or a more enterprise-driven sale. He talked about a model that they use with the 4 T's, which was, might need a prompt on this, it was having the task, can't remember the 4 T's off the top of my head. I wrote it down as something that I want to ingrain, but it really is a large part of planning, thinking about what it is you're trying to achieve, what's the commander's intent, what is the big boss wanting, how can we then put that into play, and so how can we then work through that and debrief. Somebody was paying attention to this. Thank you, David Nicholson. It was task, target, threat, and tactic. Actually, yeah, I remember just interchanging a couple of messages with David on the chat there, where we both thought, yes, salespeople do often jump into tactics too quickly. And then I think we both pointed the fingers on ourselves as well, because we're both potentially guilty of that too. I mean, one of the great things is about with all this planning, when working under pressure, it's a way in which we can be far more effective. But again, for me, what struck me probably more than anything out of the whole day is Zane talked about the debrief being the most important part. Even when he talks a little bit about his career or his time with the Red Arrows, that they would debrief everything as though it was a mission. And they would not fly another display unless a debrief had been undertaken. So it's a fascinating insight into a slightly different area, which I love doing because it does stimulate the mind. We moved straight to Daniel Priestley, and we really kind of took as much information as we could from Zane. We moved into Daniel Priestley, who talked to us about scorecards. So how this is something that he's used personally. So it's great when someone talks about things that have made them successful. So it's about how he's used them, how it can be used in a more entrepreneurial setting. But it's given us the chance to start to think about how a scorecard, where a customer or potential customer shares information that we can use, but at the same time receives information that they can use, is a clever way of starting off sales. Now, I've been looking at this as a way which we can actually thread the scorecard all the way through the sales process. So it's not just a front-end lead generating thing. In a B2B more complex sale, the scorecard, the information, the way we use it can be a way of constantly adding value. So it's something that I'm looking at, still looking at the best way, but I've got a bit of a thought. Very happy to share my thinking around that with anybody else who's interested in that. After Daniel, we had a nice, quiet, steady session from Mario Martinez Jr. It was anything but. Early morning for Mario. He'd obviously had time for a cup of coffee, and he was on fire. To be fair, whenever I see Mario, he's like that. He is so enthusiastic about the stuff he does. And why wouldn't he be? Because it makes a difference. Now, the numbers he was quoting about the impact that using video and video being one part of the wider digital space that him and his company understands. And he gave us some great examples. Talked about how we can really use video. He was talking very much about prospecting stage, and also talked about the other parts. But some simple tips, some easy to use tips. Get your face out of the way of the play button, wave, smile, animation, pointing to the things that you want customers to do. The comment in the chat was, "You make it sound so simple," and I think it is, and that's a massive kudos to him for modeling this and helping us understand it. Then challenges, calls out, said, "Look, there's no excuse for you not to be doing this next week." So I don't think there is. We need to embrace that. And that's just moved on the last session there with Anita, who's talked to us about discovery calls. Yeah, stuff that we all know about. Except, do we? I was fascinated about how she was able to talk to us about, look, we need to keep thinking, stopping thinking, taking a moment to up the game of what we do because of how we're asking questions, how we're really trying to get the customers to engage and get them thinking and feeling about what it is that we can work together on. So again, real interesting session in line with all the other elements that's brought together can make us a far better collaborative salesperson. Yeah, quiet little day. Lots and lots of stuff that we've covered. There are things to support this. So the speakers have offered things into the goodie bag. Other organizations, other people who care about sales as a professional have offered it into the goodie bag. It's all about having good salespeople doing good things in a good way. Everyone who's spoken is there to help. They want to get involved. They want to make salespeople better. I am exactly the same. If you want to get in touch, please do. You know, it's something that I'm very, very happy to talk to people about. In the meantime, we will just get the goodie bag together. We'll get that out as quickly as we can. So hopefully every weekend, so you can peruse some of the things in there. There's a lot of interesting literature. And then we'll process the video and get those ready for you to look at, to go back over and make sure you've extracted all that learning. So yeah, if you're still with me live, thank you so much for joining. If you're watching this as a recap, thank you for taking the time to watch it. If you're looking at it on YouTube, where we're going to put it, there, I've got to do that, otherwise Mario will not be impressed with me. Please subscribe and please click through to get this stuff. But yeah, best of luck in what you're doing. There are people who do care about the profession and do want to help you and want to do everything we can to elevate it. Good people doing good things in a good way.